Hello everyone, this is the video tutorial for lab 6. So in this lab we need to do two tasks. The first one is to design and implement a ROM. It is a read-only memory using the block memory generator IP. Right. So what we need to do is in this task, we need to store 10 numbers in the ROM. From the ROM we have to read those 10 numbers and we need to find the maximum of all the numbers, right? Maximum amongst all the numbers. In the second task, we need to implement a FIFO memory, which is capable of storing 16 numbers of 4 bits each. Right, so there has to be two buttons in using two push buttons using which we can perform the read and write from the FIFO. And also we need to see the working of various signal associated with the FIFO memory, right? So before starting the part 1, let me give you a brief detail about what is this block memory and how do we use it. So this is the lecture slide, one of the lecture slides. So I think this is the lecture 5 slide. So as you can see the abstract view of an FPGA. So here you can see that we have CLBs, we have IO, we have CFDs, and these green blocks, as you can see, is the BRAM, which is the block RAM. So these are all the memories which is distributed around the FPGA board. This is the FPGA die. So we have distributed memory on VRAM, and so this memory can be used for multiple purposes. So from using this VRAM, we can implement different types of memory. We can implement different kind of RAM. For example, single port RAM, double port RAM. We can implement ROM as well. So we will look into it once we move into the implementation part of it. So how can we use these blocks of memories which is present on our FPGA board? For this, we have a proprietary IP from the Xilinx itself. So this is called as a block memory generator. So we will be looking at the use of block memory generator to make a ROM out of it, that is the read-only memory, and to use it for our purpose, right? So now let's get started with the new project. Okay, so first we will create the top module of the project. So our top module is top_BROM. Right. Okay, we don't need the constraints file. Okay, so this for the top module, we need only two ports, one input port for the clock signal. So this clock will be fed to the memory. So this will be the sampling clock. At this rate, the data will be sampled out of the memory because it's a ROM. We cannot read, so the data will only be sampled out of the memory, right? So we need one clock. And the second is the maximum number we need to show. So what we are gonna do, we will be storing 4-bit numbers. So the any number will be the maximum number will also be of 4 bits. So that's why I'm taking this as a 4-bit. Okay, so once we have made the top module, let's go to the IP catalog and look for the block memory generator. So as you can see here in the memory elements, you can get this block memory generator IP. All right. Now let's look into this window. What's actually this? So right now, if you can see, the interface type is native. So we have two different kind of interface available with this block memory. So one is AXI and one is the native. So right now we don't need to use the AXI. So you will be reading about AXI in the upcoming lecture. So for time being, what we need to do, we need to select the interface type as native, right? The second thing is the memory type. So as you can, if you click on this drop down, you can see there are different kind of memories that you can generate out of this IP. So the very first is the single port RAM. So there will be only one port for the output. Similarly, there is simple dual port RAM. There is true dual port RAM. There is single port ROM, dual port ROM. So as you can see, there are three types of RAM you can generate out of it, and similarly you can generate two different types of ROM out of it. So right now what we need to do is we need to generate the single port ROM, because I need only one ROM at a time. I need only one data. I don't need two data at one time. If that would have been the case, I could have chosen this dual port ROM, right? So I'm just choosing the single port ROM. Okay. So as you can see, the algorithm option, so it's customized for the minimum area. So whenever you synthesize it and whenever you do the place and routing, so it will be made in such a way that your area will be optimized. Similarly, these are the error correction code. For time being, you can ignore it. Now, as I have selected as the single port ROM, so you can see here, there is no write signal. Obviously, there is no write signal. We can only read from it. So right now you can see four different signals. So there is some address, there is some data output, there is the clock, and this is the enable. So if you need a functionality of enabling the memory and then you can read the data, you can do that. Okay. So now let's see what is this width and depth, right? So for the width, like for example, the width is basically the word length which you will be storing into the memory. So as I said, we will be storing the 4-bit word. So in that case, I need the width as the 4 bits, right? The second thing is the depth. Depth means here the number of locations in the memory. So I need only 10 words, but these number of locations will be allotted according to the power of 2. So for the 10 words, the minimum power of the nearest power of 2 is the 16, right? Sorry, 2 raised to power 4, that is 16. So the minimum power is 4. So even if I write the 10 here, that's fine. I can clearly mention whatever depth I need. But you can see here, even then my address bus is of 4-bit. That means I can access total 16 locations out of it. Though I only need 10 locations, but as the address will be made nearest to the power of 2, so I need a 4-bit bus. Similarly, as the width of the port, width of the data is 4 bits, the D out is also of 4 bits, right? Clock is the clock that will be given to the memory at which the data will be sampled, right? Okay, rest of the things are fine. Okay, so enable port type, as you can see here, it is mentioned that use enable pin. So we can make it always enabled for our case, because right now we don't need this functionality. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the other options. So memory initialization. So if I need my ROM to be initialized with some values, or the other types of memory, if I need some initial values onto the memory, I can provide those memory values through a file, which is known as the COE file. So COE file is nothing, just the extension. You can make that file in the notepad. While saving it, you need to keep the extension of the file as .coe, right? Okay. So just click on it, load in init file. So as you can see, we have to browse the COE file. So how does the COE file look? So what you need to do, you need to open a new notepad, create a new document in the notepad, and you need to fill that with this two data. So the first thing is memory initialization radix. So we are giving the hexadecimal value. So if the radix is 16, you can choose accordingly. You can choose the radix as 2 as well. You can choose the radix as decimal, that is 10 as well. So that's up to you. So right now what I have chosen is, I have chosen the radix as 16, that is the hex. The second is the values through which I need to initialize the memory with, right? So I have mentioned these 10 values here. So that means on the 0th location A will be stored, on the first location B will be stored, and so on, right? So these are the values I have stored. So once you have written it, you have to save it with the .coe extension. Once you saved it with the .coe extension, and when you browse it, you can find it. Right, so if I look into the desktop, yeah, so yeah, this is fine. Now next thing we need to do is we need to validate our file, whether whatever we have written in the COE is correct or not. To do so, just go to the edit button and click on validate. So once you validate it, and if you get this message validation is successful, then we are good to go. You can click on OK, close here. Finally, you can write on this thing. So the summary is fine, as you can see the summary. So memory type is single port ROM, that is fine. So see, block RAM resources. So as I was talking about, that this BRAMs are distributed all across my die. So that means somewhere from like it's up to your so from these blocks. These block size can be different according to whatever FPGA you are using. So in this summary, what we are actually getting is that it is saying that so there are 18K RAMs and there are 36K RAMs, right? So for our purpose, the tool we only need this 18K RAM. So this is the number of 18K VRAMs which is being used, and we don't need 36K VRAM. So what is this 18K and 36K? So these green blocks which you see here are of different sizes. So right. So for our board we have two different sizes of block. So one is 18K, the second is 36K. For our purpose, I need only one 18K block. So that has been allotted to me for my purpose, right? The second thing is total port A latency. So this is the latency. After these many clock cycles, we will be reading the data. Address width is 4, that is fine. So that's all about the summary, that's fine. And also you can see the enable signal response once we have selected it is always enabled. Okay, so I can click on okay, fine. That's fine. Okay, next we need to write the code for first how to access the memory one by one. We have to address the top 10 the locations from 0 to 9 one by one, and we need to read the data from there, and we need to find the maximum amongst them. For this we need to write a logic for the code, right? So first thing is, let's generate the address. How to generate address from 0 to 9. So basically what we need to do, we need to implement a simple counter which will go from 0 to 9, right? That's what we need to do. So again, so a counter contains one sequential block and one combinational block. So that's how we're going to do it. So let me take this is the address. So we don't need to initialize this underscore next variable, as I told you in the earlier lab, and we can initialize that underscore reg. So I will initialize this with the 0. Right. Next thing is to write the sequential block. So as for this counter, we don't have any reset. So what I'm going to do, I will directly assign the value of next variable to the reg value. Non-blocking assignment, because this is a sequential block. This convention you can always follow. That whenever you're making a sequential block, you can use the non-blocking assignment. And whenever there is a combination block, you can use the blocking assignment. Right. Now, second thing is to write the combination block. All right. So yeah. So right now what you can see what I have done is, so I have made a very simple thing. So if my address goes to 9, I will keep it at 9 because I don't need to access the locations beyond that, or else I will increment my address with 1. Now, two things to note here, which I've already mentioned in the earlier lab as well. So the first thing is, in the if condition, I am using the underscore reg variable for the comparison because this is a stable thing. A combinational variable can change any time, but your clock, uh, the variable which is changing only at the clock, we need a this is deterministic, right? So it's better to use the underscore. In fact, you must use this underscore reg variable for the comparison in the if. Also for the incrementing, I am using this adder underscore reg variable here because again it's a stable value, right? So this is the convention you need to follow. One more thing that I need to remind you, that in the sequential always block, so what you need to do, either if it is a we need to do two things here. If it is a reset condition, we need to include in the sequential block. Also, if it is an assignment, we can include here, but any computation needs to be done in the combinational block. So this is the comparison. So comparison, again a combinational thing, and also this addition, that's again a combinational thing. Okay, so now we have generated the addresses. So using these two always block, so I have implemented a counter which will go from 0 to 9. Now I need to pass this address to the memory, and then I need to get the output from the memory, right? So for that, I need to instantiate this memory. So clock is fine. For the address, we can pass adder underscore reg, and for the data, I need to get a wire. All right. So now what I have done is I have connected it with the clock signal to the clock. The address which we are generating here through the counter to the address bus of the memory, and finally the output data corresponding to the address which you are passing, I am connecting it to the wire of this 4-bit DOut. Next thing is to write one always block for the comparison, right? So this doesn't need to be a sequential block because it's a combinational circuit. We need to do the comparison. Okay, so we need to make it as the register type as well. So in this always block, what we are actually doing, we are just comparing the D out, whatever coming from the memory with the max. So initially we have initialized the max with 0. So if whatever coming out from the memory, that is D out is greater than max, then we are assigning D out to the max, or else the max remains the same. So in the first look, as you can see always at the rate star, this looks like a combinational block, but actually it's not, because what we are actually doing, when your D out is less than max, I am keeping this value, right, intact. If I am keeping this value intact, that means I need some sort of memory. So although this looks like a combinational circuit, but I will be getting an inferred latch here, right? Okay, so that's how that's all for the code. Next, I need to make a test bench to test whether I'm getting the maximum of all the number present in the ROM, right? So let's add a test bench. Test bench, this time it is very simple. Next, we need to generate the clock. Okay, we can save it and run the simulation. Alright, so let's see. We are getting the maximum element is 0, right? So this is not correct, so we are not getting the correct output. Now the thing is, we have written everything perfectly, but somehow we are seeing that the output is not coming fine. Now in order to debug it, what I can do is I can look at the intermediate variables as well. So in the test bench, although I have only instantiated the top module, but I can also look at the intermediate variables as well. Now how to do that? So you can go to the scope, right? So when you click on the scope, you can see here, this is the BROM_TB. It is the top module for simulation. In this module, we are instantiating the TB1. So if you click on TB1, I can get the intermediate signals of these things as well. So I'm getting clock and max are the primary input and output. But this adder_reg and adder_next and this D out 3 down to 0, these are the intermediate registers and wires which we have used. So ideally these were not coming into the wave window. So from here I can add it to the wave window, right? Okay, so for D out it's fine. Okay, because D out is a wire, and so ideally what I can infer from these values that D out never cut off any value from the BRAM, right? So we were not able to access the BRAM, right? So let's see how it is a problem. So once you have added it into the wave window, just click on this relearn simulation so that in the same wave window you can get the results. Okay, so now if I look at it, so my adder_next, is taking only 0 and 1. That simply means although my counter should go from 0 to 9, but it is only taking 0 and 1. So somehow, somewhere I have made a mistake in my code. So if I look at here, If I look at here, I can see I have defined the register of 1 bit, but ideally they should be of 4 bits, right? So that's how we can debug our code using the test bench as well. Although this was very, like, if you get a first look at your code, once you are getting such output, you can clearly say that my PROM is not getting read. But this is also a method to debug using the object, the scope and the objects. So this is something which I wanted to tell you. That's why I intentionally left these things as a single bit, so that I can show you like this how to use the test bench to debug our code. Right now, as I have saved it, now I can relaunch the simulation. Right? Okay, so now you can see what's happening. Right, so as I can see, my values in the memory initialization vector was A, B, C, D, E, 1, F, 3, 2, 1. Right, so my addresses are getting generated add_reg. As you can see from here, I'm getting the 1. Right, so first of all, the 0 went into it here at this passage of the clock. So at the first location, what I am having, I'm having A. Right, so this at the next clock cycle, I got this D out A. Right, so as you can see, my D out was greater than max, so max was max got the value of A. In the next step, the next data came out to B, so the max got B, and so on. And when F came, the max got the value of F. After F, there was 3 to 1, so the value did not get changed. Right. Also, after the address reached 9, I didn't take anything else. Right. So that's how it works. As you can see. So we got the maximum value as well, and also so we looked into the 3 aspects in this particular part of the lab. We looked into the 3 aspects of this thing. So the first is how to make different kinds of memory. So there are options to make different kinds of memory using the block memory generator, but for our use we made only a single port ROM. Second thing, how to initialize the ROM. That is the second thing we learned. Next, we learned about how to debug our code using the intermediate values as well. How can I add them into the view window? So this is very useful for designs. For debugging purpose, this thing is very useful. So it's better you keep it